Hey,
Maverick,
hey, Matt, you want to come say hi?
Maverick.
Dustin wants to say hi. Here, I'll tell you what. Let me give you some toilet paper.
Please keep this. Love that.
Love that. All right, Mr. Shad, who
Yes,
did you
sir.
see today?
Who did you see
Tell me
today?
about tell me about your book, and I want to dive straight into that before we go any further. Tell me about your book and your thought process behind it, because I love that title, and I love the theme of it, and I know you as a person, you genuinely care about people, right? So I'd love for you to just talk about why you
Yeah.
decided to write this book and why you titled it
Yeah.
that.
So the title of my book is "Who Did You See Today?" And that became a question around our dinner table as a family. We have 4 teenagers, and we would sit around the dinner table, and the how's school going question, it doesn't really get much of a response. And I care about all of their academics and study and tests and all those things, but I also want them to care about people in school.
Yeah.
And I wrote this coming out of COVID, and coming out of COVID, the statistics about young people and anxiety were through the roof. They had tripled since before COVID. So I wanted kiddos that went to school and cared about people, that looked for the young person who was sitting at lunch by themselves, who looked for the student who wasn't included in a circle of conversation. I want them to remember students that shared hard things and be able to follow up with them. So around our dinner table, we'd ask that question, who did you see today? And at first it was, I don't know. I don't know. But the more we asked it, the more they knew we were going to ask it. So the more they started thinking about, I better see somebody today because mom and dad are going to ask me about this. And so I started thinking more about that for just general people in our church family, for friends and family, and for people in businesses that were trying to really have like a business edge. If you have employees that care and feel like they care and feel like they care about individual people, then you're going to edge out somebody with a similar product in a similar market. And so I thought it was a deployable idea. I thought it was a worthwhile idea. And so, yeah, I started typing, started with an outline, and then started with a lot of time sitting at a keyboard, typing out, um, really my thoughts to get seeing people down to something that I could explain to somebody, that they could
Yeah.
then go and share with somebody else, something that we could deploy. Yeah.
So the idea behind this, the 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 delivery of this, it's not overly like, or is it overly like Jesus like, or is it more, or can or does it blend, like does it apply to the
Yeah.
secular world as well, right? Like is
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
it is it go ahead.
Yeah. I think a person's, their motives might be a little bit different from a Jesus person to another kind of person. I think Jesus
Yeah.
was the ultimate example of a person who saw people. When I talk about seeing people, it means that you value people. Like people are valuable. It's not just I can't people today or I can't people anymore. It's like no, people are incredibly valuable as image bearers of God. And then I'm going to focus on people. I'm going to eliminate distractions, and I'm going to spend time with you, and you
Mm,
have my attention because I care about you. And then I'm going to respond. So value, focus, respond. So I'm going to respond by listening intently. I'm going to respond by writing you a thank you note, or writing a sympathy note, or writing a hey, I was just thinking about you note. I'm going to respond by remembering your name. I'm going to respond by bringing you a gift of some kind that's like, man, hey, I remember that you said you were struggling with this, but like, hey, I brought you this. I know you're the grocery store checkout person, but like I remembered your name and I care about you, and
Yeah.
you said you were, tired, and so here's a Starbucks gift card. I just want you to know I really care about you and people matter. And so I think Jesus is the ultimate example of that. The story of the Good Samaritan is my favorite of Jesus, um,
Just read
talking
that.
about talking about what it means to fulfill the great commandment of love God and love your neighbor. And the young attorney asks Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" And then he tells him a story. And he tells him a story about this guy who in his hearer's mind, the last person that would ever care about people, but who goes above and beyond in caring for this man who was robbed on the side of the road. And he bounds his wounds and puts him on his own animal and transports him back. And he pays for his night in the inn, and then leaves an open line of credit at the inn and said, "Hey, man, whatever it takes," for a total stranger. So he valued him, he focused on him, and he responded to him. So Jesus did that over and over, regardless of whether or not somebody is a Jesus-y person.
Yeah.
We see these beautiful examples of Jesus showing outrageous kindness that I think are an example to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not only was it a stranger, but if I remember correctly, that like Samaritans, and he was a Jew, right?
Yeah, yeah, they didn't get along. Yeah,
They didn't get along at all. Like they were very,
no,
very much so
yeah.
enemies.
There's centuries long history between the Samaritans and the Jews. I mean, it'd be the again, the very last person that a Jew would have expected to provide a level of care. He did it anyway.
Why is it so hard to do this? It seems
Yeah, I have a whole chapter in the book I call Obstructions, and I start with this story about when I was driving my very first car. It was a 1989 Volkswagen GTI. It
let's
was
go.
it was impressive. It was impressive. And I talk about how I was driving it one day. I was so proud of that car, but there was a traffic light that was obstructed by a big branch and a tree overgrown over top of it. And I didn't see the red light, and I went right through it and crashed my car. So I was okay. The other person was okay. But I talk about how there's these obstructions, these things that get in the way
Hmm.
of us seeing people. And so it's all the normal ones you can think of, like busyness, or it's I maybe your person's mom and dad weren't really like that, and so they're like, I don't really know. Or maybe somebody'd say people don't want to be, people don't want to be bothered
Hmm.
by somebody slowing down and spending time with them. But I think a lot of those things are probably excuses. um I agree that some people's personality types, wild introverts, are obviously going to be drawn to spending time with people.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think, the greatest commandment, love God and then love others. So I think it's for all of us to see people. And maybe that it's that great, like, I think for the person that's like, look, I'm an introvert, or a person who's like, I'm very busy, have a lot of demands on my time.
Yeah.
I think it's an even greater act of worship for that person to go,
Mm.
I've got to slow down, and I've got to, maybe it's not everybody. Maybe you don't see 100 people a day, but what about a prayer that's like, Lord, who would you put in my path today that I can see, that I can show kindness, maybe even share the life-changing message of the good news with, and then see what happens, man.
Yeah.
That's a cool adventure, right? Just to open yourself up to the Lord in that way. I don't know. What do you think are some obstructions, things that get in the way of people seeing people?
Yeah. Well, I honestly thought you were going to lead straight into selfishness.
Yeah,
There's like a, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I think what keeps me back from seeing people oftentimes is, yeah, there's those distractions. Like there are those
yeah,
distractions you mentioned, but at the root cause of it for me, it's selfishness, where it's like, if I give away this time that I've set aside for me and my stuff, I'm not going to get it back, which means I'm not going to get where I want to go. And I don't want to do that.
sure. Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Kyle.
you know?
I think for a lot of people, it's a heart issue. Like I am not going to do this. For some, it's some external things, and that, um, I think it depends on the context where you live as well.
What do you mean by that?
Um, Like,
Nagging injuries, poor sleep, and wrinkled skin. All three things that I think all of us agree really sucks. But you know what the three things have in common? They benefit from red light therapy. So something that I have been doing recently in my own life has been working with this company, Loombox. They sent me this product. If you're just listening, it's just a square or so like a rectangular white box with a bunch of dots on it where the red light comes out of. It has been a huge game changer for me. So especially for me as an athlete, I deal with a lot of nagging injuries. I will put this thing on my elbow, my knee, my back, my neck. I'll put it anywhere that I'm feeling pain. And I'm not kidding you. The reduction in pain I get almost immediately is amazing. But I've healed from tendonitis far quicker than I ever should have healed, especially in my knee. I've had jumpers knee in my knee for a while, and it is like completely gone from red lighting this. So I've been able to get back to squatting and jumping and all the things. It's been awesome. What's really cool about red light therapy, though, is it has to be a specific nanometer. So there's two types. There's red light, and then there's near infrared. Red light, you need to be around that 660 nanometer range, and for near infrared, you need to be around 850 nanometers, and this thing covers both. So if you want to hold it on your skin, like put their little glasses on, hold it on your skin, it's great for collagen production. If you want to put it on in your room when you're going to bed, it kind of helps you get into like sleep mode, so it increases the amount of restful sleep you're going to get at night. Or if you just want to put it topically right onto an injury, you're going to increase the healing time. You're going to drastically reduce the time it takes to heal. I don't want to throw out some crazy number percentage, but you're going to speed up their healing recovery time. So it's really cool. Anyways, you can go to the link in the description. You can save yourself $260 if you want to check this out. If you've got anything going on, or you want to sleep better, or if you want to just look prettier, go to the link in the description. Save yourself some money. Support these guys. They're really, really great. Support your boys. Support yourself. Love you guys. Back to the show.
you've seen, like, we live in this. I love North Atlanta. I love the area where we live. There's so many beautiful things about it, but it takes a long time to build a level of trust with people.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw at the gym. I mean, it took, when I started CrossFit, I mean, it took me 2 years to break in with some of the folks there, to where, I wasn't just some odd outsider, but just like a level of patience and, like, you know, hey man, how you doing? And looking for the right time,
Mm.
to show up in a way that wasn't gonna completely off put people. And that might be different from a rural area or an urban area or another area in the country, even in the world. My wife is in Puerto Rico right now on a mission trip, and I mean the culture is very, everybody's kind of talking to everybody, nobody's a stranger kind of a thing, and
Yeah.
so it's a little bit different depending on the context that you're in.
Yeah. A part of me really envies that. Really envies that type of culture. I mean, there's obviously pros and cons to where we live, right? We have things that a lot of other people don't have access to. Like we do.
Mhm.
We are the rich man and woman, relatively speaking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But there is an element that's, man, I really do envy that. I was living with Ben Ackerman for a while, and I just moved out. And man, and even yourself, when I lived with you for a bit, um, really, really established that type of culture where it was just very much an open door policy. Like Ben always had somebody, like there was just people always coming in and out, and it was like everyone had refrigerator rights, and it was like it
yeah,
was actually really cool. I remember talking to my mom about that and being like, they're just like, I could just like walk in, not even say anything, just walk in and be like, hey, what's up? And I could like go to the refrigerator and they'd be like, yeah, yeah, you want some food? Like they were just,
yeah,
it was just that open door policy. And that seems to be super uncommon, unless it's,
yeah,
in that type of culture you just mentioned, or just people who've kind of figured it out along the way and they've realized that this is a really cool
yeah,
way to live.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the burden on my heart. If you talk about, like, why did you write this book? The burden on my heart is there's people that suffer silently that need somebody to invite them into that kind of a relationship. And there's people with depression, people with anxiety, people that are experiencing really hard things, people for whom the good news would just absolutely transform their view of life and significance and purpose and meaning, and
Yeah.
bring them into a relationship with the Lord. And and they're not they're not going to do it unless somebody tries to build a bridge of a relationship strong enough to bear the weight of the truth. And so somebody's got to do it, and we can't just have these strangers at the gym and strangers at the grocery store and strangers in our neighborhood and strangers that we lean on a fence with as we wait for our kids' sports to end. I mean, somebody's got to go, hey man, hey, hi, my name is what do you do, what do you what do you like to do for fun, what, and just like make an attempt, to get in instead of just running in our comfortable lane that we're in.
Yeah.
People need that, man. And yeah, some people are a little more prickly than others. It's harder to break in,
Yeah.
but it's a worthwhile, necessary effort.
Yeah. You mentioned comfort. Um, I find that a lot of people have a very poor relationship with discomfort. Right.
Hmm.
I think we all do to an extent. It's definitely on a spectrum and it's compartmentalized where we can get uncomfortable in certain ways and we stay comfortable in others. But it seems like you really have to embrace the idea of being uncomfortable to do something
Hmm.
like this. Like it's going to be a little awkward. It might be a little weird. You might not know what to say. They might not respond well. But you kind of just got to do it anyway. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus said, deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow me. And so that denying yourself part is hard. It's really hard. And sometimes walking the Jesus road is a lonely road.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So I mean, you and I've talked about this. Sometimes faithfulness is really hard.
Yeah.
It's just there's no way around it. And I think this view of Jesus and following Jesus, where follow Jesus and he takes all your troubles away. Um, that it's not in the Bible. It's not a Christian teaching. He does say, cast all your burdens on him because he cares for you. But I don't know what he's going to do with those burdens. I don't know. He
Yeah.
may alleviate them today or never. I don't know. But I get the closeness of the Father and a closest relationship with Jesus, and that's the prize in and of itself.
Yeah. How does someone learn to accept that? Because that's really hard to hear. It's really hard to hear.
Yeah,
So like it's a really terrible sales pitch if you think about it, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
every other sales pitch is this is how I'm going to make it faster, easier, and more accessible for you. Where
Well,
this is like not that.
yeah, yeah. My sales pitch is this. I think more people are trying the alternative and they're finding it to be very, very bankrupt.
Mm,
I think people are trying the indulge, 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 desire, 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 accumulate, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. And then, like it always does, like it has done for thousands of years, people are doing that. And then at the end, they're going, is this it? Like,
mm,
is this all there is? I thought it was going to be better than this. Um, and then they're turning to Christianity. I mean, there's so many. Again, I know there's a lot of people listening to this that are Jesus people, that are not Jesus people, and so we're kind of taking you behind that curtain a little bit
yeah.
of a train of thought of one pastor in one place that's trying to reach his community, and in our community, the Jesus people and the churches that are being very honest about the commands of Christianity, the commands of following Jesus, the grace that's offered when we fall, the realness of what this whole thing is. Uh, it's effective
Mm,
and it's working, and people's lives are being changed, and marriages are being changed, and families are being changed. Um, because I think people are looking for somebody to raise the bar and not necessarily just keep lowering the bar.
mm, mm. How do you balance being a pastor and a father and a friend to people and all of the things that you must hear from on a week to week basis from people? Because I mean, you've told me some stories where you just got like people come in and they share some things that are just they're
Yeah,
hard to hear. They make you
yeah.
sad and overwhelmed. And how do you balance all of that?
Well, I think one is I love to do it. I have a calling from God,
Mm,
and a pastor's calling, and it's similar for a dad, like the calling of a dad.
mm,
Like it's an identity level. Like God has called me into this, and so I love getting to share. There's one particular day last week that was, I mean, it was like knock knock at the door, knock knock at the door, knock knock at the door, and that's great. And I want to meet with people, and there's time to certainly, put the headphones in and get the work done. I gotta, basically write a 20-page paper every single week, getting
that's
ready for a sermon.
insane.
So that's got to happen at some point. But I've gotten better at it. To be honest with you, I've gotten older. Getting, people ask. There's a mentor of mine that somebody asked him a question one time, and he was having to lead people that were much older than him. And somebody asked him, what are you going to do about, how young you are and having to lead these people in a season or two ahead of you?
Mm,
What do you intend to do? And he said, I intend to age. And I thought that was really good. I thought, uh, and so I think my age helps a lot. Like I've seen a lot of things. It's not, I've seen the long view. I've seen the big picture, I think.
yeah.
And so it's getting older has helped a lot, with absorbing and not being shocked and not taking things home. That helps out a lot. Having the balance of like feeling the freedom and not having guilt and doing the things that I love to do and doing the things that kind of refresh me, and being honest about what refreshes me helps out a lot.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
man, a good workout, uh, a sauna, a cold plunge, and a good meal. I mean, that'll reset you pretty good, man. Way more than, another 2 episodes of something,
Yeah.
or eating garbage, and I eat, plenty of garbage here and there, um but being honest about like, man, this puts me back together.
Yeah.
Like, we had some dear friends over at my house just last week, and we did just that. We did a dirty 40-minute something, every 2 minutes on the minute kind of
Mm,
thing. And then all jumped in my sauna, and they'd never been in one like that before. And we hit the steam, and they were dying, and we were laughing, and then jumping in the cold plunge, and then made some steaks. And that's like, or like
man.
just sitting and listening to my wife, or and listening to her about her day, going for a walk with her, playing, a card game with the kids. Those are the things that, getting plenty of sleep.
Mhm.
Honestly, those are the kind of things that put you back together again.
Yeah, and I know you don't like. Well, if I remember correctly, you were not the biggest fan of card games, but you were like, you know what?
It's
I'm
good for me, man. Yeah,
yeah,
I know. It's like vegetables, or just, my kids love it, and so I'll play some Monopoly Deal. I'll play some Dutch Blitz. I'll play some games because
yeah,
they love it. And it's good for us.
yeah. I remember that when I was living there with you. We were doing some form of a card game. I can't remember what it was. And you looked like you were having a blast. And then it was
Yeah.
like after the fact that I found out that you don't necessarily like card games. And I
No.
remember being like, it was like a
Yeah.
revelation. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like
Yeah.
blow smoke here, but I thought that was really cool that
Oh yeah.
you went out of your way to do something you didn't want to do because you knew that the people in your life enjoyed it. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. 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 I mean, April, my wife. I mean, I'm not kidding you. My wife is the most virtuous person that I've ever met.
Oh,
I mean, if it's virtuous, she loves it. Like being kind, spending time together, being outside. These like, forgiving. Like these virtues. Like it's annoying sometimes. It's because I was like, I don't know. I just want to sit here. I don't know. And she's so virtuous and genuinely loves virtuous things, and so it's good for me that she pulls me into virtuous stuff. And I go along with it at first, and then I'm like, okay, all right, this is a good thing.
yeah, yeah. You kind of you do it reluctantly, and then you're like, all right, this is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like going for a walk is the ultimate example of that for me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk to people about that. Because how did you get there? Right? How did you get to the place where you understand the value of that, the value of doing the things you don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
That are beneficial for you and beneficial for the people in your life. Like, how did you get there?
Yeah. Stubbornly. Yeah. Stubbornly. Yeah. I go back again to like my age. I'm 44. I'm not old. I'm not young. I don't know what I am, but like, I'm better now than I was when I was 40, and I'm better than at 40 than I was at 35 and 30. And, uh, you know, I've, I've been fortunate enough to learn by, shortcomings, and learn by failures, and learn by struggles. I've made my fair share of, bad decisions, but I feel like having the right people in my life that I can have conversations with over time that speak the right truth into me
Hmm.
has helped out a lot. And then I've pressed in to some extent stubbornly to the input of others, that has been tremendously helpful. I think most people don't you think this is true? Like in your mind, you probably know the next two or three things that you probably need to do. Like you probably know, like, all right, if I was going to really like, it's not, that old thing, like some things are hard, hard to understand, hard to do, easy to understand, hard to do, easy to understand, easy to do.
Yeah.
A lot of these like big changes in our life, they're probably easy to understand, hard to do. And so like knowing, all right, if I'm gonna, like with fitness stuff, like I can make myself suffer. I will go to the gym. I will move in a full range of movement. I'll warm up, but like it's nutrition for me. Like I know, and am doing much better now than I was 3 months ago
Yeah.
with nutrition. It's the thing that's like, all right, I've got to actually plan. I've got to go to the grocery store. I've got to prepare food. I've got to be ready. Because if not, man, if I don't eat well all day at 9 o'clock at night, I'm gonna be in that thing of peanut butter, elbow deep, you know. Uh, so it's just doing the thing that we know is there,
Yeah.
to some extent. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so much of what I do too is, or what people need from what I do is the accountability. Because like I'll
yeah,
talk to people and it's like they know. They might not
yeah,
they might not understand like a structured workout routine the way I do, but they understand they need to lift weights, they need to go to the gym, they need to be active, they need to eat better food, like all these things. But it's like it's that accountability piece, right? So to
yeah,
your point,
yeah,
we oftentimes do know exactly. Like I know, like we'll take it to like a relationship. Like I know most times how I need to respond, but
yeah,
I know also how I want to respond. And
yeah,
it's choosing not to
yeah,
respond the way I want to in moments.
yeah, yeah. And then the times you mess up, go back and go, all right, Lord, change my heart. I want to do better.
Mm,
I want to keep cultivating this heart thing. There's a really good, if you Google, there's a guy named David Powlison, Pawlison, David Powlison. He has this graphic that has like a tree bearing good fruit and a tree that is full of thorns.
mm,
And he talks about how there's a root under each one of those trees, that is the root of our heart. So at the top is like heat. So heat gets applied, and then you'll know whether or not the tree is going to bear good fruit or thorns. We want to just say, okay, when the heat's applied, I'm just going to do better. But really, there's a heart behind that whole thing. I mean, you mentioned how you just read the story of the Good Samaritan. I mean, you're doing those holy habits, those heart things that over time are shaping the person that you are.
mm,
I mean, everybody has those things. I mean, everybody is sowing into something, and everybody's reaping something in their heart.
yeah.
And so I think we can think about what that is, over time, and like sow into things that are gonna allow our heart to change and help us to be better in business and better as dads and better as husbands and better as faithful single people and better as faithful grandparents. And so anyway,
No, I,
yeah.
I love that. Tell me your thoughts on this. This is what I was thinking of as you were talking. So for me personally, I like to systemize things as much as possible. Right, like you mentioned daily habits and what you're sowing into. I like to systemize. Like, okay, when I wake up, I do X. After X, I do Y. After Y, I do Z. And like I follow this thing, and like that's the way my brain works, and it works really well for me. But I'm curious your thoughts on that, because when people hear, so into things, it can very much almost feel like okay, well, I just got to try harder. I got to remember to do this. I got to remember to do that. And I guess it can be kind of challenging for people. I'm curious your thoughts on like systemizing and creating processes and just daily habits, even if you don't necessarily feel like you get anything out of it.
Yeah. Well, I think of it like this, like, if you go outside and like outside my office here, there's a big redwood tree. It's one of the only redwood trees like it in our area. We had a arborist come knock on our door and said, "Do you know what you have out here?" I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know trees, man." So he brought me out there and he's like, "This is a redwood tree. It's very uncommon in this area, especially for the size that it is." And he's just trying to tell us not to cut it down, basically. 'Cause he's like, "Man, this thing is old. Like it's 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, this giant tree that you have right here." And I think about that tree like uh, it didn't grow because we had 1 or 2 days of great rain and sunshine.
Mm,
It grew because, like, day in, day out, week in, week out, month after month, year after year, it rained, it was sunny, the seasons changed. It rained, it was sunny, the seasons changed. It just kept going and going and going and going. And I think the same is true when it comes to like cultivating our hearts. I think it happens. Yeah, your heart's probably not going to change for one spectacular day.
yeah. What's up, you guys? Super quick interruption to the podcast. If you've ever struggled with energy, if you've ever struggled with feeling flat, maybe you're getting sick more often than you want, I'm not going to say that this is a miracle drug. What I am going to say is I do think organ meats could be super, super helpful for you. This is actually something I recommend all my clients. These specifically come from a guy I know personally, and I've done podcasts with. His name is Michael Coomer. His company, MK Sups, specializes in organ meats. Now, this right here is a blend of like heart, spleen, pancreas, all of them. You can get individual products from his product line. It has been a game changer for me. I take them literally every single morning. I do not get sick, like ever. My energy feels great. My training and recovery has been awesome. I've noticed a significant difference in taking them. And what's great about these is it's far more bioavailable than anything else you're going to get. So eating a good diet is awesome. It's imperative. I don't want to overstate that. But what I mean is, if you're just going to take regular supplements with like synthetic versions of this stuff, it's not very bioavailable. Whereas when you take organ meats, like things like vitamin A, B12, iron, zinc, all that stuff is really, really well absorbed into the body when you take organ meats. So if you want to go get some, go to the link in my description, use code Bernier at checkout for 15% off. Or you can go to mksubs.com and at checkout put the code in Bernier to save yourself 15%. Go support Michael Coomer, support your boy, support yourself. Love you guys. Back to the show.
One thing that happened, but it's going to happen with those like day in, day out rains and sun and seasons and like,
It's consistency.
and, uh, there's a writer named Jen Wilkin. She's fantastic. She wrote and just talked about a very similar thing about how depositing into whether it's like a relationship with Jesus, it's much more like a savings account than it is a debit account.
Mm.
It's not just like, oh, I had 4 great days and now I'm going to take off those great days because this has been a hard day and I'm hoping these last 4 days. No, it's more like over the years and over the decades. Because I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's been really faithful in some holy habits over years that's not experiencing some deepness and richness in their relationship with the Lord, and some deepness and richness in how that relationship translates into other areas of their life.
Yeah.
Normally it's like fitness or nutrition. It's like, well, I've been working out. Like, tell me about it. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like I've been eating healthy. All right. How many calories did you eat yesterday? I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
We got to know.
if it's 5,000 or if it's 2,000, that matters a lot,
Yeah.
right? How many grams of protein did you eat yesterday?
Yeah.
A lot. Well, how many is a lot? Is it 80 or is it 200? Because 80 or 200 like matters.
Very different. Yes, dude.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is, those are the questions that I ask when I hop on a call with a potential, client. It's like, they say, yeah, I eat healthy, whatever. I'm like, what does that mean? And the more you
Yeah.
start asking some questions and you realize we're not tracking anything, we're just going off a feel. But one of the other
Yeah.
bigger things, to your point, that I try to really convey to people is it is about consistency, right? Like I
Yeah.
made a post the other day. It was like, if you work out and you dial in nutrition, let's just say 300 days out of 365, that's 65. That's 65 days you didn't. That's a lot of days that you didn't do something, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
300 days that you did, that's the majority of the year. That's consistency. Like you're moving in an
Yeah.
upward trajectory, and
Yeah.
and it really is like. And I made a podcast about this yesterday, where so many people will just throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is also the weirdest phrase ever. But they'll throw the
Yeah.
baby out with the bathwater when they hit any sort of
Yeah.
downhill. Like someone misses, getting in the word one morning when they said they would, and they're like, this isn't for me. This is too hard. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. It's okay.
Yeah. 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 I think consistency is very underrated. And with that, I think focus is very underrated. I'm actually like going to give this the time and attention that it needs to change.
Yeah.
Focus is like I talked about this in the book, but focus is like a superpower now, because so many people are not focused.
Hmm.
Um, Being focused will put you at such a advantage over, you know, if you're competing for a job, if you're just trying to improve, it'll put you at such advantage, because it is such a rare commodity now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd never downplay the importance of just slow, faithful consistency over time. What's that thing? People uh, overestimate what they can achieve in a week, but underestimate what they can achieve in a year.
Yeah.
Just a slow, steady pressure over a long period of time
Yeah.
can really make a big difference.
Yeah, and it is I've found in my own life, and it really wasn't, I guess through fitness I did this, but like accepting that things take a while. Like I
Hmm.
think that was a huge revelation for me. It's like I'm going to have to actually accept that this is a process, and accepting that it's a process makes me not feel like I have to do so much at once, and it makes it easier to like, okay, I'm just going to have to do a little bit every day, a little bit every day, a little bit every day, and
Hmm.
understand that there is, the payoff, whatever the result is somewhere in the future, the distant future, and I'm going
Yeah.
to have to just be okay with that. I
Yeah.
think for so long I was just wasn't okay. I wanted things so quick. Like I want to get this project. I want
Yeah.
to get this project done today. Like if I wanted to sit down and write
Yeah.
a book, my thought process would be like, can I write the whole book today? Like, can I just do it
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
And it's like it just doesn't work like that. It takes so much
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know how it is if you're in a workout or something. Like, I did an hour bike ride last night. You're like, once you're 10 minutes in, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? It's just forever. And then you look at the clock again, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm 18 minutes in. I'm not even halfway.
Yep.
But then you just get in there and just get
Yeah.
in there and just chip away, and just get after it.
I wanna ask you some more theological questions if I can,
Yeah.
because these are the questions that rattle my brain, and I think they're questions that rattle people's brains. and maybe they're a conversation for another day. But how does someone who's like not a believer
Hmm.
or a believer wrestle with the idea of like why God did things the way he did things? You know, I
Hmm.
often think about this. I think about like so God knew that Adam and Eve were going to sin. And
Yeah.
he knew this whole plan, but yet he did it, but he didn't have to do it. So like why? Why did he do it?
Yeah.
Like when I look at that objectively, I'm like that seems like a pretty bad
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does someone wrestle with that?
Yeah. Well, I think if two guys are just talking, okay, and they're not Jesus people doing the Jesus thing and all that, and they're talking about objections to the system of Christianity from the outside, they're just observing it. There is a plethora of reasons not to believe. And there's a plethora of really hard questions, 100%. And so for a person who is like skeptical, I understand. Like I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Because if you're just outside looking in, there's lots of things that would seem like I wouldn't necessarily have done it that way. I understand. I think once you genuinely apply your heart to consider the things of God and how the story of Christianity unfolds, I think the beauty of the story is what is so enthralling, that is so drawing. Like once you really apply your heart and mind to, I'm going to get my head and mind around this thing. And people have their own paths that they're walking in their own quest for God and worship and all that. I think God's put it inside of our hearts, this desire to worship, and so it's led to all kinds of other different ways to that people are trying to get to God. And I understand those ways.
Hmm.
But when you look at Christianity specifically, like it's a story of God's glory in redeeming people that walked away from him, but he graciously pursues us and then renews us and then sets this future glory up for us. It's so enamoring. Like it's so gorgeous
Yeah.
to see what God has unfolded for us. And so if you think about like the garden, yeah, God created people and God dwelled with man and woman in the garden. And he said, don't eat this fruit. Don't do this. It's a clear, God was not unclear, but the sinfulness and depravity of their hearts led them to fall.
Hmm.
And then there's beauty in God, then, even in the garden. I mean, God doing the first sacrifice, sacrificing those animals to cover Adam and Eve in their nakedness and shame. God foreshadowing that there would be one who would come from the fruit of the woman who would crush the head of the serpent once and for all. Like, it's always been a story of redemption.
Yeah.
There's been times that over and over and over again that God's people have walked away and walked away and walked away, but God continued to pursue them. And that's all the prophets in the Old Testament, minor and major. Isaiah, Jeremiah, those guys, all those major prophets were about God sending people to go, hey, God has not forgotten about you. You are a mess. Come on back. All you have to do is come on back.
Yeah.
Repentance and humility and faith. Come on back. You don't have to make everything perfect in your life. You don't have to go back and undo anything. Repentance and faith. Come on back.
Hmm.
And God loves you. And then you're good. Like he's made a covenant with you and he's not going to break that. And so I think you have to look at the big story of it anytime you look at these individual questions like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about this yesterday too. Um, why do you think God created it in such a way that there had to be like there has to be atonement? You know, like you
Yeah.
ever think about like I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like why like that's like it's such a common theme
Yeah.
across the world now, right? All the
Yeah.
all the movies, whatever. There's that arc and the superhero arc, whatever. There has to be some sort of sacrifice. There's give, there's take, there's good, there's evil,
Yeah.
there's all these things. But like, why do you think God created it in such a way that there had to be like a sacrifice to atone?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Why not just like, we're good, you know?
yeah,
Like, yeah, we're good.
because it's like there was a foundation there that he was following, but he also created at the same time. I don't know if that makes any. I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes any sense in how I'm asking that question, but I was thinking about that yesterday.
Well, I think a lot of these things in the story are not all of them, not a lot of them, all of them are rooted in the character of God.
Mm,
So the character of God, God is perfectly holy. He's completely set apart. He's holy, holy, holy. He's distinctly holy from any other creature, situation, moment, place, anything in time and space and history. And so because he's holy, he cannot be in the presence of anything sinful. It would violate his character.
mm,
It would violate his holiness for God to intermingle with something that is still not holy. He would no longer be perfectly holy.
mm,
And so the idea of the justice of God is what leads to atonement, where uh, somebody has to go into a situation and say, like, all right, this is not okay. That's what justice is. This is not okay. So people that understand like judgment and wrath and hell the best are oftentimes people that have seen and experienced really, really terrible things.
yeah,
So if you go talk right now to like a Syrian refugee or a Christian from Syria who's had to flee their country because of intense religious persecution. I mean, just in recent days,
mm,
there's been people beheaded for their faith in Syria. They've seen these horrific atrocities. They're standing there going, like, I know what it's like to look around and go, this is not okay. And I know what it's like to look around and say, this is not okay. And then, like, something has to happen. This can't keep going like this over and over and over again.
mm,
Somebody has to be brought to justice. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I won't get into the whole story, but we had a loved one who was murdered,
yeah,
and it was a horrible story. Somebody really, really close to us, and I remember as a kid, as a 12-year-old, going, "Is somebody going to do something? Like what? It would be a almost a worse atrocity if people did nothing."
yeah,
So I think when we think about our sin before a holy God, we have to think like, hey, it's not okay that people mock God. It's not okay that people don't worship him. It's not okay that people cheat on their wives and they steal and they you name it. They're prideful, they're arrogant, they're self-loathing, self-hating, self-pity. Like these things are not okay. And so something needs to happen. Like something needs to people can't just mock God forever like this. This is not okay. So God said, this is the beauty of it, Kyle, is like, God said, yeah, it's not okay. You know what I'm going to do? For God so loved the world that he sent his one and only Son, that whosoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. I am going to pour out my judgment and my wrath on my own Son, on righteous Son of blood, on the righteous Son of God, and he would shed righteous blood for those who all they have to do is turn from their sin and put their faith and trust in him. Like to me, that's that big story that's like people miss. And people miss it, especially if Christianity is like, obey these rules and then God loves you, which is absolutely not what Christianity
yeah.
is. But you're exactly right. Like this atonement is at the center of the good news. And if we can process it and think about it together and think about the character of God, it gets like more beautiful the more you think about it.
No, this is actually really helpful for me and hopefully for somebody out there because I think I understand what you're saying. The the sin the sin of Adam and Eve had to be punished. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So it's the theological word is, and you see it in the book of Romans as well. The theological word is federal headship.
okay.
So federal meaning like for all, headship meaning like one stood in that place. So there's federal headship in Adam. So Adam stood as a federal head in our place, sinned, and then that propensity to sin carried on through generations. Like you never, I mean, the joke is always you didn't have to teach Maverick how to say no and scream and like throw stuff on the ground and throw stuff. I mean, these kids just do that.
Yeah.
And so just as Adam was a federal head, Jesus is also a federal head who can stand in our place in his righteous life, his death on the cross and his resurrection so that we can have hope.
Yeah. That made, man, this was actually really helpful for me. Like, I feel like I understand it far better now. Was that
Yeah.
he didn't create this, I don't want to be wrong, but he didn't create this foundation of there has to be a sacrifice for this or that. It was just like, this is what's happened. It
Yeah.
has to be punished. But
Yeah.
because I love you guys, this is how we're going to do it. And it's to bring
Yeah.
you back to me. And the punishment was Jesus. Like, Jesus is going to take the punishment that you all deserve, which sound like, as
Yeah.
I'm saying it, I'm like, well, duh, I've heard that 100 times, but I've never been able to wrap my head around
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think the place where we'll find a lot of freedom is just understanding that we don't deserve it and you didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Like he could have been righteous and said, I've created you. I gave you a clear command.
Mm.
You fell. And we fall today, every day. And God has every right not to save us. It would be well within his character to go, I'm so sorry.
Mm.
It's wrath and judgment for you. My character deserves it because I am the most important being in the universe. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans chapter 5 verse 8. So
Mm.
it's we can't think that we deserve it, and we can't think that God is not gracious in even shedding the blood of his own son. That's that Abraham and Isaac in the Old Testament was an allusion to God not sparing his own son for us.
Yeah, that's a wild story.
Um, a son that he loves. And get this, I mean, here's the thing I've been meditating and thinking on a lot lately is this idea of the union that we have with God,
Mm.
the closeness that we have with God. And we were just reading in John chapter 17, and Jesus is praying that God's glory may be revealed when people understand that God the Son's relationship with God the Father is the same kind of union that we have as believers with God the Father.
Mm.
Like that level of closeness is what we have because of the good news of the gospel, the life, death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus.
Yeah, that's really hard to
And
wrap.
it's not a, I know, isn't it wild? But it's like not, I am that close and I am that secure. Not because of anything that I've done, not because I'm a good Christian or a good dad, or because I went to seminary or any kind of junk like that. It's because Jesus has bought that relationship for me through his righteous blood shed. And I've turned from my sin and put my faith in him. And now I'm on this daily rhythm of renewal and having my heart changed. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to wrap your head around. I mean, truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find kind of like what you said, people who understand hell and the idea of it have gone through some really tough things, have seen some
Yeah.
really bad things. I find that the more I realize just how like crappy I am, the
Yeah.
more I realize just how much I need Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's a blend, isn't it? Like we're image bearers, we're valuable. We're a masterpiece of God. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 9 says that we're his poema. We're his artwork. He's created us for good things for his glory.
Mm.
And at the same time, it's like, gosh, there's some really broken stuff in there. There's some really bad stuff. And so I can't fall into the pride of self-pity and self-hate.
Yeah.
Um, but I also can't fall into the pride of self-importance, and self promotion and self an inflated sense of self. I need to learn. Tim Keller wrote that tiny little book. It's really, really helpful, though. The Art of Self-Forgetfulness.
I need to read that.
I need to learn to forget myself and pursue the Lord, pursue the people around me, love God and love others,
Yeah.
because I know what has been done for me in Christ.
Yeah, I just did Peter Burke's. Actually, I just had him on a podcast too, but I did Peter Burke's marriage seminar, his whole
Yeah,
thing, and then he came on the podcast.
that's awesome.
It was great, and his course was incredible. But man, that was just a central theme of just like the self forgetfulness. It's just like
Yeah, yeah,
it like you can't escape it.
yeah.
Every-
It's against the every fiber of the fallen heart's being
yeah,
to not go. I am the most important person in the universe. I have to, like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
I have to pursue accumulation and things and stuff, and, like, only the gospel and the power of the Spirit would cause us to forget that.
yeah, yeah. I find that it brings back, it forces my level of trust and faith in the Lord to have to grow, because when I think about giving something up and what I'm not able to go do to get to where I want to get to, coming back to the whole selfishness thing, it has to be replaced with something. And I'm like, the only thing for me logically, it's like, okay, it seems like it has to be replaced with the level of faith and trust that God sees what's happening. Like he knows, like
Hmm.
if I'm trying to act faithfully and not go do this thing to do this thing, which is what I'm called to do, he's going to take care of the rest. Kind of like the seek first the kingdom and the rest of this will be added to you.
Yeah,
It's like it
yeah,
almost, it forces you right into that mindset, because that's the only way to like really cope with that thing that's happening. Does that make sense?
yeah, 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 yeah. John Piper wrote a book called Future Grace, and he just this idea that the future graces that God has for us are greater than the graces that I see in my own pleasures today.
Hmm.
Like, I have to trust that whatever God has for me in following Him faithfully will deliver way greater than anything that this world could ever offer me.
Hmm.
And um, I have a we I think you've met John Norris before. He works in a hard place. We'll just say that,
Yeah.
in a place where anyway. He's made a lot of sacrifice for the gospel, but he says the reason I'm able to do that is because the future grace of God
Hmm.
is greater than any kind of pleasure of living in a comfortable place. So
Hmm.
yeah.
That's awesome. Let's wrap up with this. What is what's something that I should have asked you that the audience needs to hear? What's something that's a level of importance that comes up in your mind that you feel like needs to be shared with the audience?
Yeah. One of the things is that you left your longboard at my house.
Have you been waiting this whole time to say that?
I have. I've had it sitting next to me. And so I'm gonna keep it here in my office for you. I don't know if you've just, like, forgotten, like, where it is or what happened to it or who knows.
I did. I totally forgot about it, dude. That long.
But I got it for you, buddy.
Thank.
I got it. It's right here. And uh yeah, I'm not gonna break my neck trying to write. Mav,
Come say what's up, dude.
what's up, big stud?
Oh, he's pretending like he doesn't want to say hi. Man, that
I love it.
that longboard, that's the one that I took on my longboard
I
trip.
know.
Dude,
I know.
that thing has been through. I didn't know I still had that.
You don't.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
But
here.
but I'm gonna leave it here in my office. So you gotta come by and get it.
All right, I will. I'll come grab
Yeah.
it. But yeah, what's something what's a question I should have asked? What's something you want to share? What's like a nugget that you're like, I really want to say this to the audience?
Um, I don't know. I mean, Apostle Paul said, I presume to know nothing among you except Christ crucified. And I, you know, this whole Jesus story is just really awesome. And even for somebody that would listen to this and say, I don't I'm not going to believe this stuff. I'm not going to do this stuff. I would just hope that you would just take some time to get your mind wrapped around what all this really is and how good this Jesus stuff really is.
Yeah.
Because we all fall short in many ways. And this world is it's really beautiful. There's so many wonderful things. Mav and the gift of being a dad and the gift of knowing the young ones that we know and of work and of good fitness with friends and taking care of our bodies and those kind of things. But there's just there's a greater good, and there's a greater richness in what it means to be forgiven, what it means to fight sin, what it means to fight sin the way that God has given to us, what it means to the vastness and the richness of his glory. And that's a life worth pursuing. So that's the best thing.
Oh man, I love that. Yeah, it is. It's hard, but it's hard, but it's good. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
You want this?
What is it?
It's a picture of himself.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. That's a pretty good metaphor.
I
Yeah,
know, right? That's
a pretty good metaphor. Yeah.
well, dude.
Yeah. I love it, man.
Thank you for coming on, dude. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed this. I think people will get a lot out of it. Yeah, man. Just know, and this isn't again me blowing smoke. It's just being real with you. Just know, man, you're leading by example. There's a lot of things I did learn while living with you that I remember. You know, one thing I said to Peter was, I always noticed how you addressed April when she walked in the door. How you addressed April, April. You know, you just.
I know.
And
Yeah.
that's really cool, and that's stuck with me, and that's something that I think about often. So it's really fantastic, man. Thank you for this. People will love it. Your book. Who did you see today? Where can people get it if they want to read it?
All the places, all the ways, man. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of it.
That's awesome.
Target.com. It's all the places.
That's really awesome, dude. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll call it there. Maverick, you want to say bye?
Now, proud of you, Kyle. Proud of the man you are and the man you're becoming, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man. All right, you guys. That's it for the episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you want to reach out to Dustin, hit him up. If you want to read his book, go get it. Love y'all.
Yep. See ya.
All right.